This is the Late Round Podcast with your host, JJ Zacharisa.
What's up, everyone? It's JJ Zacharisa, and this is episode 647 of the Late Round Fantasy Football Podcast, sponsored by FanDuel. Thanks for tuning in. I've been doing a lot of average draft position-related episodes over the last month on the show. I've talked about ambiguous backfields. I've talked about ambiguous wide receiver situations. I've talked about the running back dead zone and how to beat it. There's been a lot of talk about ADP and how to work with what the market gives you. I'm going to continue that today with a quick look at rookie wide receivers in redraft leagues. I know it's a pretty niche topic, but it seems like an important one. It seems like we're seeing rookie wide receivers make more and more of a mark in season-long leagues. We saw Jamar Chase last year and Justin Jefferson during his rookie season, but even players like Amon-Ra St. Brown have emerged, coming on strong towards the end of their rookie seasons. My very simple question that I'm asking today, are rookie wide receivers good picks in redraft leagues? Or should you opt to go with someone else? Before getting to that answer, sports fans, there's no better time than today to sign up for FanDuel Fantasy. For users who have yet to make a deposit on FanDuel Fantasy, you can deposit today to receive 2 free entries. All you have to do is deposit a minimum of $10 into your FanDuel DFS account, and you'll be instantly rewarded with 2 free vouchers. This is a limited time offer, so be sure to deposit now and play for free. Head over to FanDuel.com or download the FanDuel Fantasy app today. Eligibility restrictions apply. Go to FanDuel.com or download the FanDuel app for more details. I think the easiest way to start this is by analyzing things similarly to the other episodes that I've done recently, by looking at ADP expectation and seeing how these rookies performed against that expectation. If you haven't listened to those episodes, no problem. All I'm referring to is a scatter plot where on the x-axis, you've got average draft position. And that data is courtesy of myfantasyleague.com. On the y-axis, you've got points per game. So you plot each player in fantasy football on this graph. Some wide receiver who was selected 50th overall may have scored 12 PPR points per game one year. So that's a data point. Maybe someone at 70th overall scored 16 PPR points per game, and so on. When you do that for each position, you can create trend lines for each position as well. And those trend lines represent expectation. They represent how many points we'd expect a player to score at a particular ADP. So from there, we can see which players exceeded or didn't exceed expectation. Since 2011, we've seen 163 rookie wide receivers get drafted in redraft leagues. Some ADP sources will have more, some are going to have fewer. It just depends on where you draw the line. 143 of those wide receivers played at least 8 games. Let's focus on those players, since we're working with points per game and not cumulative numbers. We need a number of games played threshold. So 143 rookie wide receivers ranging from Amari Cooper's rookie season where he went pick 42 overall, all the way to Ryan Switzer, who went 253rd overall. What I first want to figure out here is whether or not these players did well versus ADP expectation overall. Like just generally, are rookie wide receivers good or bad at exceeding expectation? I can tell you that at the highest of levels, if you group all rookie wide receivers together, the answer to that is that rookie wide receivers overall play below expectation. The average difference between expected points per game versus actual points per game among all of these 143 rookie wide receivers is minus 0.43. Meaning the average rookie is playing 0.43 PPR points per game below expectation. If you listen to some of the episodes that I've done this month, then you might remember how I looked at the percentage of players who exceeded expectation by 3 or more points, calling that a moderate breakout. Well, of the 143 wide receivers, 32 of them were moderate breakouts. That's a 22% rate, and that's lower than the overall wide receiver population during this time frame. So again, at the highest of levels, rookie wide receivers have actually been bad bets, not good ones. The problem with just concluding that and moving on, it's about eightfold. One of the reasons we shouldn't do that is because a lot of this data is likely being dragged down by some serious unpredictability, especially in the late rounds. A rookie wide receiver in your fantasy draft has never played in the NFL. We have no data on that player. We think we know if he's going to be good, but we're naturally going to be better at projecting a player who we've actually seen play on an NFL field. What that means is that we're doing a whole lot of dart throwing with these rookies. And like I said, that's especially true in the later rounds. What's interesting is that the better rookie wide receivers, the ones who are good or have higher ADPs, they've actually exceeded expectation at a pretty decent rate. For some, a really decent rate. Let's start splitting up this sample of 143 wide receivers. Let's group them up into top 100 picks, picks 100 to 150, and then players picked past 150th overall. So 14 wide receivers out of these 143 were drafted in the top 100 of their fantasy drafts. If you think about it, those are the really good wide receivers who were probably early first-round picks in the actual NFL draft. Devontae Smith was barely in that range last year. Jamar Chase was in that range. But players like Jalen Waddle, Elijah Moore, they were outside of it according to this data. We don't see rookie wide receivers in the top 100 ADP very often. Remember, in a 12-team league, that's like the first 8 rounds. But get this, of those 14 wide receivers, 11 of them ended up exceeding expectation. Just exceeded expectation. They outperformed their ADP. But that's a 79% rate. And 36% of them exceeded ADP expectation by 3 or more points. They were moderate breakouts. Those breakout rates got worse and worse as you went down in ADP. And remember, I'm comparing all of these players versus ADP expectation. So yes, we'd expect players with a lower ADP to not do as well. But this is all versus expectation. So a player getting drafted earlier has to score more points to meet expectation. When looking at the rookie wideouts who were drafted between picks 100 and 150, that rate of exceeding expectation goes from 79% to 48%. And the rate of being a moderate breakout or exceeding expectation by 3 or more points goes from 36% to 30%. And then there's the group of wide receivers who get selected after pick 150. This is the bulk of the players, since we're mostly throwing darts at rookies in season-long leagues. Of these players, though, just 37% exceeded ADP expectation. Fewer than 19% of them exceeded ADP expectation by 3 or more points. It's a little bit counterintuitive, but as you go on in your draft, rookie wide receivers become worse bets, even when expectations are low for those players. And I think it has everything to do with the fact that there are usually a handful of rookie wide receivers with projectable target shares each season. They're the guys who go in round 1 of the NFL draft and are maybe day 2 picks. But after those players are off the board, good luck nailing the exact guy who's going to blow up. There are a lot of them who could, but there are usually only 1 or 2 who actually do. You can see this when breaking down these rookies by rookie wide receiver rank as well. So the rookie wide receiver 1 in a given season, the rookie wide receiver 2, and so on. Historically, the rookie wide receiver 1s have exceeded expectation, have produced a higher points per game than expected points per game based on ADP, but these rookie wide receiver 1s have exceeded expectation over 72% of the time. That's not that surprising since we just talked about how top 100 rookie wide receivers usually are able to exceed expectation. Rookie wide receiver 2s are at 55%, wide receiver 3s 45%, wide receiver 4s 72%. I could keep reading these results, but that wouldn't make for a good podcast. Instead, I can tell you that after about rookie wide receiver 6, where 63% of the players exceed expectation, we hit a wall. The vast majority of rookies ranked wide receiver 7 or worse in their rookie class don't exceed expectation, even when that expectation is very, very low. So let's quickly recap, because I've got one more thing that I want to share. When a rookie wide receiver is a top 100 pick by ADP, he exceeds expectation at a very high rate. As you move down the draft, as you go through the draft, those percentages shrink. And it's probably because rookie wide receivers become much more of a crapshoot, and not many of them are breaking out. We have a decent sized numerator, but a massive denominator. But overall, the hit rates for rookies is actually quite good, especially during those higher leverage rounds. And what if I told you that these rookie wide receivers are even better than you expect? That they're even better than all of this? When looking at how a player performed versus expectation, I'm looking at the whole season. But as we know, rookies may need a little bit of time to get acclimated, meaning the start of their rookie seasons could be slower, bringing down their season-long points per game averages. And that's generally what we see. I took our sample of wide receivers and I cut it down to wide receivers who played at least 5 games during both the front and the back half of their rookie seasons. Because what I did was compare how they performed during the first half of the season versus the second half. It would make sense for the front half numbers to be lower, right? For rookie wide receivers to perform better, to have better production during the second half of their rookie year. That's what the numbers show. Let's look at rookie wide receivers drafted in the top 100 who played at least 5 games in both halves of their rookie season. On average, those players saw their points per game averages go up by almost a full point from the front half to the back half of the season. The next group are players who were drafted between picks 100 and 150. They saw their averages increase by almost 3 freaking points. And then the last group, all the players who were drafted after pick 150, their increase from front half to back half points per game was 1.23. So think about what this means. We saw that, generally speaking, top 100 rookie wide receivers exceed expectation at a pretty high rate. But those numbers that we're using to conclude that, they include the entire season. In reality, rookie wide receivers have been better during the second half of the season. And that's the more important part of the fantasy season too, because you're in the fantasy playoffs. And the same happens at other rookie wide receiver levels as well. The overall hit rates may not be as good when you're not talking about the stud rookies, when you're not talking about the Jamar Chases of the world. But those hit rates are also skewed a little bit by the fact that rookie wideouts are scoring more points on the back end when things matter most. Think of it this way. Those rookie wide receivers who have been picked between picks 100 and 150 over the years, they're exceeding expectation at a 48% rate. A 50% rate would mean they're just completely average, because half of them are exceeding expectation and half aren't. But that 48% number is working off of full season numbers. If you were to focus only on the second half numbers, the second half averages, the equation changes completely. The rookie wide receivers with top 100 ADP go from 79% to 83% in terms of exceeding expectation when you focus only on their second half numbers. The next group are rookie wide receivers getting drafted between picks 100 to 150. That rate goes from 48%, which I was just talking about, to 74%. And then the last group, the guys who get drafted past pick 150, their hit rate rises from 37% to 43%. And each group got better when looking at moderate and true breakout rates as well. The reason I love comparing these players to ADP expectation is because it embeds a market evaluation into these types of players. What this data is telling us is that fantasy managers probably are underrating the really good rookie wide receivers in redraft leagues. Just generally speaking. When it comes to the later round ones, they're not. But the ones who get drafted in the single digit rounds and into the double digit rounds, they generally end up as pretty good values. But their value is enhanced when you remember how rookies are scoring points. Their values even when you look at season-long numbers. But if you focus on the second half numbers, the numbers that they're posting after getting used to the NFL game for a little bit, or maybe after they see the field a little bit more, that's where these players are winning for you. So the bottom line takeaway is that you should probably be drafting rookie wide receivers more frequently, or at least a little bit higher. And you should probably be playing the slow game with them because you want to be able to extract as much value as possible during the most important weeks of the season. That's going to do it for today's show, though. Thanks to all of you for listening. If you've yet to subscribe to the Late Round Fantasy Football Podcast, make sure you are by searching for it pretty much anywhere podcasts can be found. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter at LateRoundQB. If you like this study today, if you like the studies this month, the Late Round Draft Guide is filled with them. It's a season-long guide that I'm going to be updating every single week from July 1st through the end of August. You get strategy for 2022 season-long leagues. I give you my favorite targets, avoids, late-round darts, and more. Go check it out right now. Pre-order it for $19.99 over on lateround.com because it's going to jump to $24.99 on July 1st when it launches. Thanks for listening today. I really, really appreciate it. I'll talk to you later in the week with the Mailbag Show.